New Orleans is unlike any other city in America. Between its beautiful architecture, its storied history, and its unique food, there's a lot to see here. But here's the problem. I'm only here for a week. There's so much to see and do in NoLa, and we really had to pack our itinerary to make sure we saw everything we wanted to see. In this vlog, we ate some amazing food, got to learn about the city's culture, explored the local swamps, went to one of their famous parades, experienced the infamous nightlife of Bourbon Street, and had, quite possibly, the strongest drinks I've ever had in my life. Although this is just a vlog, I hope this still serves as a guide for anybody planning their trip, so come along as we spend 6 days in the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana. Day 1, I flew out of New York on Saturday morning, and as I approached New Orleans, I got this incredible view of the insane Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, which holds the world record for being the longest continuous bridge over water in the world. Definitely a really cool way to be welcomed as I pulled into Louis Armstrong Airport. Okay, so we just touched down here in Louis Armstrong Airport. This is the airport in New Orleans. I have about 3 hours to kill before Emily gets here, so I figured instead of heading straight to the hotel, I'm gonna sort of explore this airport. And then I did hear that there actually is a Cafe DuMonde location here in the airport. So I figured my first meal of the day while I'm waiting for Emily might as well be something that is quintessentially New Orleans, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and get some Cafe DuMonde while I'm waiting for Emily. Alright, so first things first, we're definitely going to be doing the real Cafe DuMonde, the one that's in the French Quarter. Since I had time to kill, I figured I'd do this while it's in the airport. I did get an order of beignets. You get 3 of them per order. And I got an iced cafe au lait. I'm not a big coffee person, but I figured, you know, when in Rome, or when in New Orleans. Still good though. Even though they weren't really made to order, they are still warm, still crispy on the outside, still soft on the inside. Getting it all over my pants, bro. Oh my god. So when you get beignets, don't wear black. It's gonna get everywhere. So I'm saving the 3rd beignet for Emily when she gets here. She arrives in about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna meet her at baggage claim and then rock to the hotel. So I met up with Emily at baggage claim, gave her the rest of my coffee au lait because I'm not a coffee person, and then we Ubered over to New Orleans proper. We stayed at La Gallery Hotel, right on the outskirts of the French Quarter and walkable to most of the activities we wanted to do. We did get there before check-in, so we just dropped our luggage off before walking off to lunch. On the way, we started to get our first taste of the uniquely beautiful architecture of the French Quarter. The juxtaposition between the different eras of the city is really cool to see. We decided to get lunch at the Napoleon House, a historic building that, according to legend, was meant to house Napoleon Bonaparte after his exile. There was a bit of a line, but we got seated in about 20 minutes or so. One of the things that they're known for are their Pim's cocktails, and Emily and I split a sampler flight of their 3 signature drinks. They are good and really sweet, but this was my first taste of just how strong New Orleans makes their drinks. One thing about me is that I will always go for the thing that I've never tasted before, and I've heard of but never had boudin before, so I've started off with their boudin sausage. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I don't regret getting it. I also got a bowl of seafood gumbo, and this I really liked. The portion was smaller than I would have liked, but for the price, I understand. After finishing up in the Napoleon House, we wanted to quickly check out Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street is the party central of New Orleans. Non-stop music and partying all day long, even in broad daylight. Even at 2 p.m., the streets were already bumping. We left Bourbon Street after a couple of minutes only because we were saving it for the nighttime, so we just explored the French Quarter while waiting to check into the hotel. Oh, you're okay. You go. Thank you though. We were finally able to check into our hotel, La Gallery. The room was quaint and small, but it got the job done. We mostly wanted this place due to its location, so to that end, it did its job well. You want to say hi to the camera? Okay. Maybe I don't want to have you on frame anymore. For dinner, the original plan was to go to a touristy spot called Acme Oyster House, but we quickly saw there was a massive line outside. So we made the decision to pivot to our backup plan.
I'd heard that while the tourists go to Acme, the locals prefer Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar. If you're a NoLa local, please confirm if this is true in the comments below. We were seated immediately and got some drinks before ordering. Neither of us had ever had fried alligator before, so we split that as an appetizer. I honestly can't even describe how it tasted because you mostly just taste the batter and the sauce, but you can absolutely tell it's a different kind of meat. And overall, it was pretty good. Had a chewy bite, but it wasn't gamey like I expected. Now, you can't go into an oyster house and not get the oyster. New Orleans specializes in charbroiled oysters, and so I got a half dozen of them to try out. They are absolutely drenched in butter. Even when I was just trying to get a close-up for the camera, a bunch of the butter started spilling out of it. Now, I know we're only on day 1 of the vlog, but with the benefit of hindsight, I gotta say, this was my favorite thing I had eaten on this trip. To be fair, it's probably because of the ridiculous amount of butter on it, but it was just so unbelievably delicious, and I'm really glad I got to try it. Buttery, salty, still tastes of oyster, but it wasn't too oceany. A must try while you're here in New Orleans. Fun fact about the French Quarter is that it's one of the few places in America where you can carry an open container of alcohol. As long as it isn't in a glass container, you're free to walk around and drink on the streets. After dinner, we'd booked a haunted tour with a company called Witch's Brew. New Orleans is considered to be one of the most haunted cities in the country, and the French Quarter especially is a hotspot for the more spooky side of the city. We did the New Orleans Voodoo and French Quarter Cultural Experience, which is a 2-hour tour that set us back about $35 per person. Our tour guide Kobe was awesome, and he was able to make it fun and engaging. He took us through a bunch of supposedly haunted locations throughout the French Quarter, complete with stories about some of the gruesome murders that happened here, the alleged spiritual happenings that have happened in the years since, as well as a history of voodoo as a culture and as a religion. My favorite part was when we visited a restaurant that has a haunted table still in service, and restaurant patrons can pay to eat at that haunted table. So while this technically is a haunted site, it kinda just felt like we were watching people eat dinner. Part of our tour led us to Harry's Corner, a local cash-only dive bar that serves up a specialty cocktail known as the Ghost Buster. It even comes with a little ghost jello shot on top. And in true NoLa fashion, this was also very strong.
Very bougie. You can have the whole thing. The ghost was boozy?
Mm-hmm. It's very...
Oh. Yeah, there it is. Oh my god, that was very bougie.
We ended the tour right by Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop Bar, which is a huge tourist hotspot. A lot of tourists think it's the oldest bar in America, but the technical title it has is the oldest structure used as a bar in America. The one drink this place is most known for is the Voodoo Daiquiri, colloquially known as Purple Drank. One cup of this will set you back about $9, and it is ridiculously strong, and it basically tastes like frozen grape-flavored Everclear.
I do not like it.
I don't think I like it either, but it is strong. It is very strong.
God.
So I guess it's effective. I don't know if it's good, but it's effective.
On our way back to the hotel, we decided to walk through Bourbon Street now that it's prime party hours. We just wanted to preview what kinds of places we might want to explore when we go bar hopping on later nights. Emily wasn't feeling the purple drink, so she gave it to me to finish while she hopped into Fat Tuesday, a New Orleans-based daiquiri shop. She got this cup of amaretto and pineapple for about $9 to $10. One of the cool features of Bourbon Street are the bars that offer balcony views for those that want to people watch, and we do this on later days. We got a quick bite at a place called Crystal. Nothing special or historic about this place, it's just a local chain that's open late at night, has quick and cheap options. Alright, so we just finished day 1 of New Orleans.
I'm not wearing pants.
Okay, well you didn't have to say that, I could have hid that from the camera, it's fine. But now we'll hold the camera up here, it's fine. End of day 1 in New Orleans, like what are your general thoughts so far?
It's very overwhelming.
Very overwhelming. Bourbon Street is not for the faint of heart. At nighttime it was chill, but during the day we left after 2 minutes because it was very overstimulating. But at nighttime it's fun.
And I liked the ghosty shot.
Oh, what was it called?
Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbuster shot.
Yeah.
That was cool. I like the oysters I had today. Those are very good. Day 1 was just us sort of exploring. Day 2 is actually us exploring too, but we're going to be checking out the Easter parades that they have in the French Quarter. And before and after the parades, we're just going to be sort of exploring and seeing what the French Quarter has to offer for us.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. See y'all for day 2. Alright, start of day 2. So what we have planned today, we'll get breakfast first. Later on today, because today's Easter, there are 2 parades going on. We're skipping the first one. The first one is the Easter parade. Skipping that. We're gonna go to the gay Easter parade instead, because that sounds more fun. So we're gonna do that. But before then, we're gonna go to the Garden District and check out some of the stuff in the Garden District. So come along with us for our adventures for the day. We started the day off getting breakfast at Coterie NoLa, a local spot that serves authentic New Orleans dishes. I got their Bayou Lafitte for $16, which is scrambled eggs with crawfish etouffee on top. Etouffee is another must-try NoLa specialty. It's basically a shellfish stew made with roux. It's hearty, it's complex, and it's delicious. When you go to the Garden District, you can Uber there if you want to, but I actually recommend taking the historic St. Charles streetcar, which is the oldest continuously operating streetcar in the world. You can download their app to get a day pass for only $3, so this is a really good and affordable way to get around. Fair warning though, it does get very crowded very quickly because it's a really touristy thing to do. As we approach the Garden District, you can actually see how the aesthetic goes from a typical city landscape to greenery and historic houses. The Garden District is a unique section of New Orleans that's known for its beautiful architecture. It is also home to perhaps the most well-known restaurant in the city, Commander's Palace. However, I messed up. So that is Commander's Palace. It is one of New Orleans' most highly rated, well-known restaurants. And I did the dumb thing and I didn't make a reservation. When I tried to make a reservation, they only had availability the day after we left. So we're settling for the next best thing, which is this extension right over here, which is like a creperie or a coffee shop. And they do have some of the things on their menu, so we're doing that instead. If you plan on going to one of New Orleans' most famous restaurants on Easter Sunday, don't do what I did and think you can make a reservation the day before. Luckily, a couple months prior, they had just opened up La Petite Blue, an extension to Commander's Palace that mostly focuses on coffee and crepes, but they do still have the same aesthetic and some of the popular menu items from Commander's Palace, including turtle soup. And I've never had turtle before, so you know I had to try it. It's not for me. In true haunted New Orleans fashion, there are historic cemeteries everywhere. Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is right across from Commander's Palace, but it didn't seem like it was open to the public. Just a short walk away is Magazine Street, which is the Garden District shopping street. It's filled with restaurants and local stores, and we were fans of the thrift shops and the local artists. This would be a really great place to visit if you plan on getting souvenirs. After taking in a little bit more of the architecture, we again took the St. Charles streetcar back to the French Quarter. I do recommend taking the streetcar to get around as it's cheap and Google Maps tells you exactly where to get on and off as long as you're okay with dealing with heavy crowds. However, I don't know if this happens often, but about halfway through our ride back, we were told to get off and switch cars. Okay, so we just finished the Garden District. We were on the St. Charles streetcar heading back to the hotel. But the operator stopped in the middle of the track and told everyone to get off because apparently there was some sort of accident. We all got off and then we saw that there were like 4 or 5 other streetcars that were also stopped. The operator told us to go transfer to a different streetcar, but instead of that, we're actually just gonna walk all the way back, which is only about a mile back to the hotel. So we're walking back. We get to see a side of New Orleans that we otherwise would not be able to see. We're gonna rest at the hotel for a bit and then we're gonna go to the Gay Easter Parade. We were actually really glad that we chose to walk back instead, because we passed by a bunch of sites that we otherwise wouldn't have, like Lafayette Square, the National World War II Museum, and these horrifying little dudes that infested all the bikes we were considering riding. Okay, so after a quick nap at the hotel, we're gonna head out to the Gay Easter Parade. We're gonna pregame with the slushies that we never finished yesterday. I'm gonna be real, I don't love this, but it's strong. So we're pre-gaming and we're gonna head to the Gay Easter Parade. As we got ready for the Gay Easter Parade, we decided to stop into a random bar along the parade route, and although we didn't realize it at the time, The bar we went to, called Lafitte in Exile, is actually the oldest continuously operating gay bar in the country. I got a Hurricane, a cocktail popularized here in New Orleans, and they're, very strong. It's good, it's just strong. And then we went outside for the parade. It was such a fun and empowering thing to see, and they were even giving out a bunch of goodies. We ended up with a respectable amount of beads, as NoLa is known for. We went back to Lafitte in Exile for one more drink, which probably wasn't the best idea in hindsight. Oh, that's nowhere near as strong as last time.
Really?
Good though.
Mine is stronger.
Yours is stronger.
What?
We wanted to drop off some of the stuff we got, and so we listened to some street musicians on the way back, applied the temporary tattoo I got from the parade.
No, dude, that.
Oh, that actually worked. I have cats.
Let it dry for a second. Wow, that worked super well. I'm really surprised.
And then we went back out in full Easter gear. So a lot of the French Quarter is lined with these quick fried chicken spots, and so we decided to try one called Voodoo Chicken and Daiquiris. I'm gonna be real with you, places like these are very obvious tourist traps, but we're trying it so you don't have to. The food was fine, and it got the job done, but it wasn't anything special. We then went for the full send into Bourbon Street, and we bar hopped into a bunch of different places. When you come to Bourbon Street, I highly recommend just walking around and hopping between bars to see what fits your vibe. The vast majority of places have no cover charge, so there's no harm in just popping into places and seeing if you like it.
All by myself, I'm so lonely. Just one shot the clock on the shelf. I want to lay my worry head on somebody's shoulder. Don't want to get older. All by myself. Don't want to get older. All by myself.
We ended up staying at Crazy Corner, which had a live band that specialized in pop punk and throwback emo songs. So of course, Emily and I vibed there. While the bars are fun, a lot of the food places aren't. Bourbon Street is filled with obvious tourist traps or places to capitalize off of drunk people with lowered inhibitions. This one slice of pizza cost me around $10, and it wasn't even all that good. I only did it so you don't have to. Alright, so it is, what time is it? It is a little past midnight. So we just finished our little romp through Bourbon Street. Had a fun time. We're gonna go to sleep because we're very tired. And then tomorrow we got the swamp tour and then our reservation for Brennan's, and then we'll see where the day takes us. See y'all for day 3. Day 3. We got up bright and early for our swamp tour, which we booked through reservations with Honey Island Swamp Tours, and the whole experience cost us around $58, which includes a shuttle that picked us up from our hotel in the French Quarter. We shared a speedboat with other passengers while a tour guide explained the history of the swamps. We got to see some of the swamp-based houses, the beautiful and serene environment, but honestly, the best part was probably the wildlife. The tour guide threw marshmallows out onto the water to attract alligators and raccoons.
You can stand up, look over your neighbor, just watch your hands. That's
Right.
probably close to 7 feet or so.
Get it.
There's a lot more gator. They have 2 sets of eyelids. You may see them wink at you. See if they'll swim out. I bet he wants it. He wants it bad. oh, get it. You got it. Gonna do a trick for
Look at
us?
him.
Oh
Oh my god, oh, look at him!
I've been working with him a couple of weeks. He's there you go.
Chug it.
It's you.
Chug it.
He ate that little piece I gave him. Now he's gonna go in there for the big piece.
He even showed us some of his fishing traps that he had set up. This was such a fun experience, and one that I highly recommend if you're itching to get out of the city. Also, if you've learned something from this vlog so far, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button down below, as it's completely free and it helps me out a ton. Anyway, after we got back to the city proper, we made our way over to our lunch reservation at Brennan's. This is one of the most highly recommended restaurants for visitors to the city, and it's an absolutely gorgeous space filled with greenery and ornate decor. It honestly feels like you're stepping into a museum. We got some drinks and an appetizer to start off with, all of which were recommended by our waiter. Our waiter recommended some drinks that we've never had before, so we started off with those. And then our waiter also recommended a dish that went viral on Instagram, and so we got that as an appetizer. Emily got the duck confit hash. And I got a dish that is original and unique to Brennan's, the eggs hussard. It is pricey here, but I do still think the food was worth it. The food was seasoned perfectly, and although you don't get a whole lot in your portion, I still think it was really good. But the real reason we came to Brennan's is because this is actually the place where bananas Fosters were invented. When you order it here, they actually prepare it tableside for you while explaining the history of the dish, all while putting on a show. It was a really cool experience, and while the dish itself isn't necessarily mind-blowing by any means, what you're really paying for is the experience.
Okay, so it is currently 6:45. We napped for most of the day because this morning and yesterday was very tiring. So I'm gonna continue to go out. Emily is just gonna get food back to eat back at the room. So today's gonna be sort of like a solo adventure night. We'll see how that goes.
Since we were doing so many touristy things, I decided to find at least one place that the locals prefer. I heard a lot of people hyping up this place called Killer Po' Boys, a small place on the edge of the French Quarter. I got their seared shrimp po' boy, and honestly, this was one of my favorite things I ate on this trip. It shocked me how good it was, and although it's not a traditional po' boy, that doesn't mean it wasn't delicious. And then I started my solo adventure at Musical Legends Park before exploring the rest of the street by myself. Another French Quarter staple are these drinks called hand grenades, and so I stopped into the place that makes them, Tropical Isle. I got it frozen for about $10, and while it does taste good, it's kind of like a melon daiquiri, I've definitely had stronger drinks on the street. Now my go-to solo nightlife activity is always karaoke because I feel like it's easy to make friends that way. So I went to the premier karaoke spot on Bourbon Street called World's Famous Cat's Meow Karaoke. Yes, that is the actual name. It was a pretty small crowd since it's a Monday night, but I still had a good time. Day 4. This is our dedicated French Quarter exploration day, so naturally, we headed straight to the New Orleans breakfast spot, the famous Café DuMonde. We saw that the dine-in line was crazy long, as expected, and so we opted to order our food to go, because that line was much shorter. And in typical French Quarter fashion, of course there was live music for those waiting in line. The takeout line moves pretty quickly, and it cost us about $4 for 3 beignets. We took our food over to the Riverwalk, where we were able to enjoy our beignets along the Mississippi River. The Riverwalk itself is a really serene spot to enjoy the breeze away from all the crowds of the French Quarter. And this shouldn't come as a surprise, but this is way better than the location at the airport. It's fluffy, crispy, sugary, and cheap. Also, pro tip, dip your beignet into their hot chocolate or coffee, and thank me later. We walked around Jackson Square, where a lot of vendors and artists like to hang out, but since it was early morning, nobody was there yet. I do come back on day 6 where it was much more lively, so stick around for that. Then we went off to the French Market, which is an open-air market space full of shops, local artisans, and food options. Back towards Jackson Square, we watched some street musicians for a bit before exploring some more local shops. We then Ubered over to Bywater, a neighborhood just a short drive away from the French Quarter that's much more relaxed and low-key. We would have hit up Crescent Park, but it looked like it was going to rain soon, and so we decided against it. We went straight to Bacchanal Wine, a wine store that has a full-service restaurant in the back with live music. Started off with drinks because, of course we did, and then we ordered our food and relaxed while listening to the music. Although this isn't a New Orleans staple or anything like that by any means, it's still good food and an option for those of you that want to steer clear of the tourist crowds. After about an hour or so, we walked over to a nearby brewery called Parlot. We didn't spend much time here. I just got a beer and Emily got an alcohol-infused popsicle, and then we made our way back to the French Quarter. Bywater is a fun, relaxed side of NoLa, but honestly, if you're only in the city for a limited amount of time and you need to hit all the quintessential New Orleans spots, you can probably give this neighborhood a pass. After some time, we Ubered back to the French Quarter. Of course we needed dessert, and so we dropped by Legendary, a very Instagram-worthy sweet spot that serves extravagant milkshakes. We got the milkshake and cookies for about $17. It was good, but definitely don't tackle this on your own. You're gonna need a friend to finish the whole thing. One of the more unique things you can do in the French Quarter is the Carousel Bar, located in Hotel Monteleone. It's exactly what it sounds like, a bar on a moving indoor carousel. Seats are limited, so you might have to wait patiently for seats to open up on the carousel itself. We drank here for a bit before calling it a night, so we had lots of energy for the final full day tomorrow. Day 5. We decided to do something that's always at the top of every New Orleans tourist lists, but we were a little apprehensive about doing it. For $70, we booked a tour that picked us up from our hotel and brought us to Oak Alley Plantation. We had second thoughts on visiting a site that's so closely associated with the exploitation of the enslaved, but we had heard positive things about the tour, so we decided to give it a try. Past the Welcome Center and the gift shop are the slave quarters. They show the day-to-day lives and expectations of people that were enslaved, and while I don't have much footage of these spaces because, again, it felt a little exploitative, I did respect the wall of names that were dedicated to acknowledging and thanking those that made this plantation possible. Around the big house, as it's called, are gardens, exhibits, and little self-guided walks throughout the architecture of the space. The plantation is named Oak Alley because of its famous alley of oak trees that lead you right to the house, and it really is gorgeous. As for the big house itself, they don't allow cameras inside, so I don't have footage of the interior, but I will admit that the tour itself was very respectful of the ugly history here.
Alright, so we're here at Oak Alley Plantation, and to their credit, they are very upfront and very honest about the problematic history of plantations in the South, which is great, and it's lovely. What I don't love are a lot of the tourists that are like taking this as selfie spots and photo ops, and I don't know, that just seems kind of gross to me and dismissive of what this place actually is and stands for, but I don't know, that's just me. But the place is very gorgeous, I will say.
Now, I understand the hypocrisy of vlogging while chastising people for taking smiling selfies here. But there were so many tourists having full-on photo shoots on these grounds, or even taking laughing selfies with slave artifacts, which just felt a little too disrespectful for my taste. This place is gorgeous, but it's not just a photo op, it's a very real and tragic part of American history. I do recommend visiting here if you have time though. The tour was great, and it's really important to take educational opportunities like these when they come up. Alright, now let me get off my soapbox and let me come back to vlogging, because right outside the grounds is a bar that makes NoLa classic cocktails like the Mint Julep, which, surprise surprise, was still very strong. And I got a homemade praline from the gift shop, so I had something to snack on the bus ride back to the hotel. Back in the city proper, we tried another tourist trap, so you don't have to. We did Willie's Chicken Shack. Emily said her chicken was fine, but nothing special, while I was actually pleasantly surprised by how good my catfish was. I'm not sure I'd pay $17 for this again, but they were decently good. A very short walk away from the French Quarter is the Sazerac House, a free self-guided tour through a museum that explains the history of New Orleans' most famous cocktail, the Sazerac. There are a lot of interactive exhibits, models and examples of the history of NoLa's alcohol, short films, and even free samples of different kinds of cocktails. It shouldn't shock you anymore, but of course, they're still ridiculously strong. The tour includes multiple floors to explore and interact with, and did I mention it's free? I highly recommend adding this to your itinerary if you plan on visiting New Orleans. And you know you can't go to NoLa without getting some crawfish. We went to the original French Market restaurant, and they had a bit of a line, but that's just how you know you're in for a treat. Crawfish boils are highly seasonal, and crawfish season is usually from around March to around May. Emily got the fried green tomatoes, while I, of course, got their crawfish boil, which comes with typical seafood boil mainstays like corn, potatoes, and sausage. Perfect seasoning that was just spicy enough, and a ton of fresh crawfish to keep your hands occupied for a while. I highly recommend this place, but I also know NoLa locals are very vocal about their crawfish preferences, so let us know in the comments where you prefer to get your crawfish while you're in New Orleans. After dinner, we stopped by Aunt Sally's, which is a touristy praline shop, so I can get some souvenirs for people upon a return to normal life. Pralines are another New Orleans staple. Alright, so it is a little past 9 p.m. It is the final night that we have here in New Orleans. We're gonna go ahead and tackle Bourbon Street one final time, but we need a little bit of confidence, so we're pre-gaming in the hotel before we do so. Tomorrow our flights home are not until relatively late, so we're gonna explore City Park, but for tonight we're gonna try to brave Bourbon Street. Wish us luck. First place we went to was a place that was known for being a party hotspot called the Beach on Bourbon. And while we can definitely see how this place could be an amazing time, we went there early on a Wednesday night, so it was pretty dead in there. Except for these guys. These guys are killing it. We continued to bar hop, and I wanted Emily to experience Tropical Isle, the place where I got my hand grenade a couple days earlier. And so I took her there, and I told her to spend the $10 on a drink called the Shark Attack. The next bar we went to is called The Dungeon, a dark and gritty rock and roll bar. I don't have any footage inside the bar because they actually have a really strict no camera policy once you enter, which makes a lot of sense because they had some pretty adult demonstrations happening on the second floor. If you want something a little different from Bourbon Street's club scene, I recommend at least checking this place out. The rest of the night was just us bar hopping, and there's not a lot to narrate here, so I'm just gonna let the montage roll, and I'll see you back on day 6.
headed back to the hotel. It is 2:30 a.m. Finally headed back from Bourbon Street. We have a city park day tomorrow. We are not of right mind. Was that grammatically correct? We are not of sound mind. Anyway, 2:30 a.m. headed back to the hotel. See y'all tomorrow.
Final morning in New Orleans. Sad that we had to leave, but we do have the majority of the day to explore one final time. We got a quick caffeine boost at a local coffee shop before Ubering over to a restaurant near City Park called Another Broken Egg Cafe. Not necessarily a NoLa staple, but a well-known southern breakfast spot. As soon as we sat down, they gave us a plate of beignets with a raspberry dip on the house. I got their shrimp and grits Benedict. A little bit pricey, but it was good and it gave us the energy that we needed for our park day. One of the more recommended things to do in New Orleans is to visit City Park, a huge park filled with different things to do. Our first stop was to enter Coterie Forest, an easy trail away from the hustle and bustle of NoLa proper. It's a beautiful space to enjoy the peace and quiet of the nature of Orleans. Now, we didn't realize it at the time, so I don't have proper footage of it, but we also stumbled upon Laborde Mountain, which is the highest point of elevation in all of New Orleans at a staggering 27 feet above sea level. I recommend Coterie Forest to anybody that needs an in-city way to experience the local nature of the region. After the forest, we walked about 20 to 30 minutes to get to the southern part of City Park, where they have the New Orleans Museum of Art. We opted to just do the Besthoff Sculpture Garden, a free outdoor extension of the museum. This is another beautiful space to explore and relax at your own leisure, and again, it's completely free to enter. Nearby is another Café DuMonde location, so if you want an alternate site without dealing with the noise and the lines of the French Quarter location, you can always come here. There's a lot more to see in City Park, but we needed to make sure Emily had enough time to get to the airport, and so we headed back to the hotel to say bye. Okay, so it is 3:30 p.m. My flight is not for another couple hours. It's not until the nighttime, but Emily's flight was before mine, so we said goodbye at the hotel. She left for the airport already, and I have a couple hours to kill. So I'm here at Armstrong Park. I'm just sort of exploring the French Quarter, see what else I missed. So Armstrong Park, I'm gonna check out Jackson Square again, maybe see the Riverwalk. We're just gonna sort of explore and see what's around. I first headed over to the boardwalk to explore a little more, and it was a beautiful day to feel the breeze and take in the local culture. They also have the Audubon Aquarium nearby if that's more your vibe. Jackson Square was much more exciting this time around, as there were local artists selling their works and street performers drawing crowds. For my last stop, I walked over to Armstrong Park, a beautiful outdoor park with sculptures that honor the music and culture of the city, especially its namesake, Louis Armstrong. I enjoyed the last bit of time I had left in the city before reluctantly heading over to the airport to mark the end of my trip. And that brings us to the end of the vlog. We had an amazing time in such a unique and cultured city, and I hope you were able to get something from this video. Videos like this take a ridiculous amount of time to edit, so even something as simple as a quick click on the like or subscribe button would mean the absolute world to me, as it would bring me one step closer towards achieving my dream of being a travel vlogger. If you made it all the way through to the end of this video, let me know by commenting below something you learned from this guide or something you think I missed. I know we weren't able to see all this city has to offer, so I need your help informing other viewers of all the amazing places I missed. I'm gonna link our itinerary in the description down below so you can get an idea of how we planned this trip. My channel has a bunch of other travel vlogs, so please feel free to check out all the other places I've been. Thank you again for watching, and I hope the rest of your day is as beautiful as you are. Bye.
I have a rainbow chain. I like it a lot.
Yeah, you're not gay enough for it, but yeah.
That's rude.
You're not.
I was at the gay parade. I think that's...
That doesn't make you gay.